absent eligible employers, so this is 55% of that. As for applications from the self-employed, there are 194,369 applications. For the deadline for application of the phase 1, that's the 14th of June, Sunday, midnight. So I would like to appeal to employers and the self-employed to submit the applications as soon as possible. Especially for employers, I must stress once again here that the employment support scheme is for us to tide over the challenges together. Now, employers need not be worried that because they apply for the wage subsidy, they will be stigmatized, because it's about a joint effort. Now, if employers have experienced difficulties because of a drop in business volume, and without government's help, the employers may have to let some employees go, then in that case I would appeal to these employers to put in an application as soon as possible. Now, I still want to talk about employers because the scheme involves mostly funding for employers and employees. So far, we have processed 25,500 applications from employers. Now, for the agents of the employment support scheme and trustees of MPF, and also for us, all these parties have worked hard, so we are able to disperse the first batch of wage subsidies soon. For these 25,500 applications already processed from employers, starting from tomorrow, the 10th of June, the employers will be receiving a notice. And then by the 12th of June, we will be able to transfer the wage subsidy to their bank accounts. So therefore, for the first batch of employers receiving the subsidy, they will be receiving it in the first half of June. Now, when I first announced the scheme, we said the disbursement will be in the second half of June, but now we're able to do it by at least a week earlier. It's because we want to give timely relief to employers so they're able to keep their employees on the payroll, and this is what we would like to see. Now, about the 25,500 applications already processed, I'll give you the breakdown of the sectors. In Hong Kong, our economy is mostly comprised of SMEs and micro businesses, and this is reflected in our applications. So we will draw the line at 50 employees. Now, because we've already processed these applications, so we can see that, say, for businesses employing 1 to 49 employees, that is under 50 employees, that accounts for 24,952 applications. That is 97.8% of the processed applications. For businesses employing 50 employees or more, they account for 550 of the applications, that is 2.2% of all the processed applications. That's more or less the percentage of the economic makeup of Hong Kong, because we said over 90% of businesses are SMEs, it's micro businesses. As I mentioned, these businesses will be receiving notice starting from tomorrow, and then they'll be getting money in 2 days' time. And the amount is $4.8 billion, and that's more or less in line with our estimate. Now, 25,000 applications out of 170,000 is about 10%. So $4.8 billion times 10, that means in the first batch we'll be spending $48 billion. And our original estimate is that we will need $81 billion. But then I must stress that the $81 billion is not the cap. If there are more employers and employees than we have estimated, and we need more public money to pay for the wage subsidy, we will still do so. Second point on employment. Under the Anti-Epidemic Fund 1.2 and in particular 1.0 in particular 2.0, there are various elements to do with employees. Now the catering business, the transportation business, in particular self-employed taxi drivers, red minibus drivers, and the more senior green minibus drivers, and also construction sectors. These we're giving them support too under the fund. Now, some have asked when will there be the Anti-Epidemic Fund 3.0? Now, I can say this here. We don't need to wait for the so-called Anti-Epidemic Fund 3.0. As long as we see there are needs in the community, there are industries or employees left out, then we will adopt the same attitude and the same spirit and giving them support, and we will take action at once. Now, for the 2 batches of the Anti-Epidemic Fund, we still have unused contingency as much as $10 billion, and that would be enough for us to cover the left-out items. Now, I would like to talk about some items that we left out. You may have heard some of them, and you may hear some of them only today. First is about the construction industry. You know, in construction industry, the way the employment mode works is very unique. Workers go and work in a construction site, so it's very different than other industries. And then also because of the demands, so people can't really work, say, over 20-odd days in months. So we believe there are 40,000, casual workers on a long-term basis. We call them casual workers, but actually they work for the same employer on a long-term basis, and they are caught. They are not covered by the industry scheme, but then they are also not eligible under the employment support scheme. So that's why we will soon be launching a scheme covering the construction sector, in particular the so-called long-term casual workers. And so that's how we can make use of the $1 billion fund, contingency fund. And the second sector is the laundry sector. As you know, because of poor business in the catering business, laundry sector is also getting much less business. Now, in the anti-epidemic fund, we have not covered this sector, so we're going to have an industry support scheme for the laundry sector, and we'll be receiving applications soon. The third industry is the employment agencies, because again, people saying that they've been left out because during this period they are getting much less business because of the travel restrictions. There are far fewer foreign domestic helpers coming to Hong Kong. The fourth industry is the auto repair industry. Because in an earlier stage, we don't know if this auto repair shops you may be selling parts, and they may get support under the retail sector scheme. But then for the retail sector scheme, the 60,000 applications are almost all processed. So if industry is not covered by other schemes, like the auto repair workshops sector, so we are going to cover that as well. The last sector, because we are always looking out for different sectors to support, that is there are dishwashing factories or yachts, dishwashing yachts. This is a new type of business in recent years, and they're not covered under any of the schemes because they know how to categorize them. And there may be a few dozens or under 100 such dishwashing yachts, but we will be providing an industry support scheme for them. So that's why I'd like to say this to employees and employees. We will continue to listen carefully to views expressed. Where appropriate, we would certainly give an immediate response. Now, the third issue about employment is, of course, about the unemployed. Just now, we've been talking about those who are still keeping a job, and so we will try to keep their jobs. But then, unfortunately, there are some Hong Kong residents who have lost their jobs. unemployment rate is now 5.2%. And for the unemployed, what we're doing is that starting from this month, we have relaxed the asset limit under the comprehensive social security scheme. So there is, and we would like to encourage people with needs to apply for the CSSA. And then there is the love upgrading scheme for upgrading skills, and we're going to enhance the scheme. And then there's a second point. Third point is that in recently we've announced that we have cash support for families, and for working families receiving any forms of child subsidy or student assistance. There are about 200,000 families. They will soon be receiving additional subsidy automatically. The fourth point is about new graduates. We're going into the summer holidays, so for students graduating this year or next year, they're probably going to face difficulties finding jobs because the economy is not doing well. Employers may not be employing people. So for graduates this year and next year, from post-secondary institutions or secondary schools and so on, we're going to do certain things. One, this summer holiday, we're going to have an additional 5,000 summer trainee jobs. So usually these are year 3. We're talking about year 3, year 4 university students, so they can get some workplace experience, and it will be easier for them to find work after they graduate. And then we have $6 billion under the anti-epidemic funds to create 30,000 time-limited jobs for 12 to 18 months. About 10,000 jobs are under recruitment in the various departments, and there are another 10,000 jobs. We're prepared to collaborate with various sectors, including private companies. For example, under the Environment Bureau, there is a green employment scheme. Is to hire university graduates who are very keen on green business, so that we serve some jobs for them. And then the Development Bureau will also have a scheme for newly graduated engineers, surveyors, landscape architects and so on. They will be working in private companies, not for the government. So say there are consultancy firms in the private sector, and these graduates could work for them, and we'll offer subsidy to the consultancy firms, so they are willing to hire these new graduates. And then the third sector is the financial services sector. Now some graduates may be interested in fintech. So the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau will work with the Cyberport to provide time-limited jobs for graduates interested in fintech and so on. Now, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has also got 300 such jobs in the banking sector. We will be working closely with professional bodies to create these jobs for new graduates. Finally, civil servants. Of course, civil service jobs are stable. Yes, we're going to face a huge challenge in our public finances, but there is no plan to have a redundancy plan for civil servants or any form of a voluntary retirement scheme for civil servants, because the civil servants are now, we're seeing a peak of retirement for civil servants. So as long as we slow down a bit in recruitment, there's no need to ask colleagues to leave. So I must appeal to all civil servants to understand and accept the decision of the Executive Council last week for a pay freeze. Now, first of all, this pay freeze decision has not departed from our standing mechanism. That is, after there are indicators, we will look at a basket of factors. We do that every single year. Now, there were occasions and the pay trend indicator was of a certain figure, but then after consideration, the pay rise was higher than that percentage. And this decision of a pay freeze is in line with that mechanism. So I must appeal to civil service colleagues to be understanding, because the public would like to see us, standing with them in this difficult time. Now, for all politically appointed officials like myself, the heads of bureaus and political assistants and so on, we will not be getting a pay rise in accordance with the established mechanism. Now, as we've explained before, the pay adjustment mechanism for politically appointed officials is rather mechanical. There is no other consideration. Usually we just look at the changes in the consumer price index A in the past 12 months compared to the previous 12 months, and then there will be an automatic pay adjustment. There is no need to go to the Executive Council or the Finance Committee for funding, because this is a mechanical pay adjustment mechanism. It's been approved by the Finance Committee, so it remains effective. Now, for the cycle of pay adjustment for politically appointed officials is the 1st of July each year. Now, we haven't got all the figures if we were to proceed with the pay adjustment, but as at April, it's still a positive figure of about 2%. So if we go by this mechanism, politically appointed officials will get a pay rise of 2% on the 1st of July. But I'm announcing now that all colleagues have decided to go for a pay freeze. That means there will not be adjustment based on inflation. Now, of course, as you might recall, I, myself, and my ruling team have already taken a pay cut in April this year. So it's a pay cut, and then now we have a pay freeze. Similarly, for non-official members of the Executive Council, they agree to do the same, but because they have a similar pay adjustment mechanism on the 1st of October, and they have agreed they will go for honorarium freeze, and so there won't be any adjustment based on inflation. So that's why we hope we will all stand together in this difficult time and ride out the challenge. Now, I've mentioned various measures to keep jobs and to create jobs. We need to have a stable environment. If every day in Hong Kong we're still seeing violence, our safety is still under threat, and there's even challenge against the sovereignty and the territorial integrity, even because people are talking about the independence or self-determination. Definitely that will undermine all these efforts we're making. So that's why I would like to appeal to all sectors in the community to support the decision of the National People's Congress. This is to safeguard national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Please support this legislative exercise. The SL government will be fully supporting that effort, and so that we could put in place an effective implementation mechanism here. Now, there is a handful of people who try to smear this exercise of legislating for national security, and then some have actually asked people to go for a strike this week, and class boycott and so on. I must condemn that, because they are going against the interests of all 7 million plus people in Hong Kong, especially now. Hong Kong is still in great economic hardship, and we need to ride out this storm together. Thank you. Let's see if there are questions.
The floor is now open for questions. Please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. The reporter in glasses at the back, please. Mrs. Lam, this is from Commercial Radio. Today is the 9th of June. 1 year ago, we saw a million-strong protest and